Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the High Ticket Coaching and Consultant Strategy and Growth Show. Now, if you're watching this interview anywhere else but within our private Facebook community called High Ticket Client Attraction Insider Circle, definitely come check us out. We'd definitely love to have you. So today I want to introduce you to one of the members of our community, Mark. Welcome, Mark.
Hi, Extus. Thanks very much for the opportunity.
You're welcome. So tell us, what is that you do?
Well, I guess you would call me a media trainer. I help people understand how the media works. And as a result of that, I teach people how to prepare for interviews, Extus, typically media interviews. But I guess, something like this is important as well, obviously. So I teach people how to prepare and deliver their message on television, radio, print, and online. And I've been doing that since 2000, since the 2000 Olympics, actually, in Sydney, Australia. And I also teach businesses and companies and individuals as well how to do their own PR in a general sense. I mean, I'm not a PR agency that has 20 people working for me, so I'm limited to some extent. But I teach people how the media works, what the media wants, what constitutes a news story, and then I teach people how to promote their news story or the story that they have identified within their business to the media, which basically is what PR or public relations companies do. But I guess the difference is that if someone's dealing with me, Mark Aiston, then that's who they're dealing with. I'm not handballing that to someone else. I'm doing it for them. And of course, if a PR company is massive, then that's not possible. So I am limited to the amount of people that I can help in that instance. But I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it. And that's the reason that I do that is because for the last 40 odd years, I've worked in the media as a presenter, as a sports presenter, as a commentator, and also as a radio host. So I have, hopefully, I've got credibility in the sense that I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm teaching. I've lived and breathed it for a long time, and I pass that on to others.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's so exciting as well, too, right? Because most individuals who do things today, most of the people, they haven't really done it. But for you, as you said, you've worked in this field for quite a number of years, and now you're able to help others, having an idea of what the behind the scenes of what exactly is needed, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the things that I've learned myself is that there's a lot of stuff that I know that I take for granted. And I forget that even though it's basic to me and fundamental to me, um, others don't know. They just don't understand. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur or if you run a business, you know that business intimately. But a lot of people who run businesses and who are entrepreneurs or who want to promote through the media, they wouldn't have a clue, with respect, to where to start. They wouldn't even understand the absolute basics. So that's fundamentally what I do, yeah, and love it. I love it. And as you say, it is exciting. It's exciting to be able to help other people and teach them stuff, and also, as you would know, and see them light up and go, wow, okay, that's great. I'm going to do that now, and I didn't know that, and it's not difficult. It's not a difficult thing. It just needs someone like me or someone else to explain to someone how it works, and then with practice you get better. But yeah, it is exciting. I love it.
Yeah. Now, where is someone typically at when they come to a realization that they would need someone like you and your services?
Yeah, that's a good question. Look, I was thinking about this prior to the interview, and I thought you may ask me a question like that. I've been dealing with. I've had some initial dealings with an entrepreneur in Adelaide, a very significant entrepreneur who has developed some software. And that individual, I met him again yesterday. He knows his business. He knows it intimately. And he's now at the point where he wants to set up a marketing and media unit within his business, because he wants to start promoting. But also to Extus, he also wants to become the authority. He personally wants to become the authority on this particular topic. And in a very general sense, he produces software, but one particular app that he has produced is very, very big in the automotive arena globally. And up until this point, he hasn't been promoting what he's been doing at all. And he hasn't been promoting it for two reasons. One is it hasn't been on his radar. He hasn't needed to. But the second reason is that he didn't and doesn't know where to start. He doesn't know who to contact in the media. He doesn't know how to write a media release. He doesn't know how to identify a story within his business that the media would be interested in. So that's one example. At a different level, I'm dealing with a lady who wants to change two words. She's been working in the disabled sector here in South Australia. She works with physically and mentally disabled kids. And she wants to change the word disabled and disability to parability and para-abled. She wants to change those words. So if she wants to change those words and she's just telling her family about it, Extus, no one's going to know. So she came to me and said, how do I get this out? How do I tell people? And as I explained, I said the best way to do that is to do it through the media in the first instance. So I guess in one breath, I'm helping a company that's a multi-million-dollar company promote a product and promote what they're doing through the media. But at the same time, I'm dealing at another level where, and this is a lovely lady, she's 70 years of age. And as I say, she's worked in that sector for a long time. She has a different want. But fundamentally, the skills that both of those people need are very similar. They're very similar. So yeah, there's a couple of examples there.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, love it. So when it comes to the media now, right? So where does someone start? Where do you typically start off with someone? Let's say those two individuals you mentioned. When you do get in contact with them, where does that start for you?
Yeah, well, the very first thing is that without knowing these two individuals, I immediately got the feeling straight away from meeting them that they had no clue about how the media worked. So I give them an overview as to, and I'm talking the news media here, Extus, the news media, TV, radio, print, and you know, as you know, a lot of newspapers are going online now. So I teach them how the media works, what the media wants, and how the media goes about getting what it wants. Now, fundamentally, and I'll just condense this for you. Fundamentally, what the media wants, the news media, is they want content. That's it. They just want content. They want content for their news service, for their radio show. They want articles for their newspapers because they need to fill them. I mean, every night obviously you've got 24-hour news services over there as we have. I mean, they are even more desperate for content. So that's one part of the equation. But the second thing I teach them, and this is probably the most important thing, is how to identify a story idea within their business that is promotable to the media. Because through my experience working in newsrooms for 40 odd years, we would get a lot of phone calls, back in the day, a lot of faxes, more so now, obviously, emails, and what we call, and again, as you know, what we call news releases or press releases, that the person in that media organisation will look at for 1 second and either throw it in the bin or say, that's a good story. And so I teach them how to identify a story idea within their business that they can promote. And then the next step, of course, is I teach them how to do it themselves. I can do it for them, but I teach them how to do it for themselves so that when they're done, they can say to me, Mark, I still need you to help me with this. Or they say, I get it. I understand now. I know how the media works. I understand what a story idea is within my business. It's not, I mean, you know, it's not just promoting your business to the media. If you wrote a media release and said, hi, this is who I am, this is what I do, please do a story on me, they're not interested in that. They're interested in something that is more newsworthy. And just very quickly, to give you a good example of that, let's say, for example, you're a veterinarian and you want to start promoting so you look after animals and you want to start promoting your clinic through the media. And let's say you live in Adelaide. Let's say there's a dog virus that breaks out in, and I'm talking Australia here, but let's say there's a dog virus that breaks out in another state. So obviously that's a good news story because a lot of people have dogs. We all love our dogs. I have a beautiful dog here running around in the garden. So if you want to get promotion for your veterinarian clinic, there's no point in just writing a media release and saying, hi, I'm Mark Aiston from Mark Aiston Veterinarian Clinic. Will you do a story on me? You need to think carefully about crafting that media release. And in this instance, it might be something like, you'd write a media release saying you're very concerned about this virus. This is who I am. My name's Mark Aiston. I own a veterinarian clinic. I, like all of you, love my animals. I love my dogs. This virus is a nasty virus. And here are 3 things that dog owners should do whereby they can check to see if their dog's got the virus, for example. And so you put all of that information in a news release, but you need to write it cleverly and you need to craft it. And I teach that. And so you've identified a news story. It's not happening in your state, it's happening somewhere else. But you've, what I call, piggybacked off the back of that story. So you'd send that media release out with a really good headline, an eye-catching headline, with some good follow-up paragraphs, with that list of those 3 things that you must do to check to see if your dog's got the virus. And you send it to media organisations that you target, which again is a skill because a lot of people wouldn't know where to send it. So I teach that as well. And that example would for sure and certain get some traction. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. If that media release turned up at, say, Channel 10 here in Adelaide in the newsroom, and the chief of staff, and they're generally the person that would read that media release, if that chief of staff looked at that media release with the right headline and all that good information about what you should do if that virus comes to South Australia, then the chief of staff would go, that's a good story. It's actually not in Adelaide, it's actually over in Sydney, but we should do that story because A, there's a good angle to it, and B, it affects a lot of people because a lot of people have dogs. So I teach people how to write the media release and who to send the media release to. And those things are fundamental to me, Extus, but, you know, as I say, if you haven't written a media release or you don't know who to send it to, or you can't identify a story idea within your business, then you may be sitting on a really good story within your business, but unless you know that process, then nothing's going to happen. So that's sort of the evolution, if you like, of how it works.
Mm-hmm. What about the potential of the media, right? So just like the reach, all that, those different pieces, what's the potential there?
That's a really good question too. Well, I'll give you an example here in Adelaide. Channel 10, for example, which is where I worked for 20 years as a sports presenter. Channel 10 on any given, now these numbers won't be big compared to the US, but Channel 10, for example, have around about 80, 90,000 people watch their news service. Channel 7 has about 130. Just for your information, 15 years ago, they were double. But again, as you would know, people are watching their news and getting their information on different platforms and during the day through social media. So the potential for that story to make a significant difference to your business is it's significant. So if you take the example of the veterinarian, if all of a sudden, and I'm the veterinarian, I'm on Channel 10 News tonight, and I'm talking about the virus because I've been interviewed by the organisation, that story might go for a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and you're seen in that story 2 or 3 times. We call them grabs. So there'd be a shot of me talking about the virus. Then there'd be a shot of me talking about those 3 things I mentioned earlier about, the things you need to do to make sure your dog doesn't have the virus. So I would be exposed to 80 to 90,000 people on Channel 10. If it was Channel 7, it would be 120, 130,000. In the US, obviously, those numbers are higher because you have a larger population. If it's a national story, then we're talking millions. Now, the advantage of that is that if you're seen on a TV news service, we'll talk TV here. If you're seen on a TV news service talking about the virus, I'm talking about the dog virus, not to be confused with the coronavirus. If you're seen on a TV news service talking about the virus, and bearing in mind, you're not promoting your business. You're not saying, I'm Mark Aiston, I own Mark Aiston Veterinarian, please come and see me. I'm not doing that at all. I'm just giving information. That type of publicity is far more credible than a paid commercial, because obviously a paid commercial, obviously I'm going to say good things about myself, or whoever's talking about me in a paid commercial, they're obviously going to say good things about me. But if you're seen on a TV news service in front of just 80,000 people, you'll be seen as, provided you prepare for the interview properly and you say the right things, you'll be seen as credible. You'll be seen as authoritative. You'll be seen probably as sympathetic, as caring. And that translates into customers, because people would look at that and A, they'd be concerned about the virus, and B, they'd go, that guy looks really good, or that woman looks really good. She looks really trustworthy. I think I'll go and take my dog to that clinic. And so that's one example, but you can do this with any business. It doesn't matter what the business is. You just need to identify the story idea and then promote it to the media. And you don't just have to promote it to a television news service. You can promote it widely. You can promote it to all the media organisations in Adelaide, or you can, if it's a good national story, you can promote it nationally. Or if you've got a business and you've got something that's international, you can promote it internationally as well. So as I say, the reach for that example would be about 80,000 people on Channel 10, but you might get the story on Channel 7 as well. So there's another 120,000 people. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of eyeballs looking at you and hopefully making a good judgment about you as a veterinarian. And then of course that translates into customers. Not all the time, but it's free. It doesn't cost anything. I mean, it doesn't cost anything to do that. So if you happen to get your veterinarian clinic tonight on Channel 10 News, and you don't get any phone calls the next day as a result of that story, it doesn't matter. It hasn't cost you anything. But that wouldn't happen. I'm sure the next day the phone would run and there'd be people saying, I saw you last night on Channel 10 News. We want to bring our dog to see you. We're really worried about her, or whatever it might be. So in a general sense, that's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess when you get to the media level, it's, hey, make sure you have you have your stuff, your store has enough supplies, all the different things you need, right? Because there's a possibility that when you do get that much attention in that quickly of a time frame, there might be a flood of individuals, right? A flood of interest.
That's a really good point. And that would be a good problem to have. That'd be a good issue to have. But yeah, I mean, there's no point in if you were manufacturing, I don't know, a product, and you were able to make 30 a week, and you promoted it, and all of a sudden you needed to make 1,000 a week. Well, clearly you wouldn't be able to do that unless you expanded, which would be exciting. But yes, you're dead right. You need to, if it explodes, you need to be prepared for sure.
Yeah, I love it. Now, who do you want this message to reach? Who's that ideal person you want to target this message to?
Well, in terms of the media training And if we package that up with the public relations, I guess it's anyone, Extus, who wants to promote themselves through the media, who has, they may not know this at this point, but it's any business or any individual, an author, someone who's written a book, um, anyone who has a message, um, anyone who wants to invest in the mainstream media, because we're not talking social media here. Social media can be part of it, but so anyone who feels as though they would like to start promoting themselves through the media, or their products or their services or their invention or what they offer. But also too, as I mentioned right at the start, anyone who is an authority in something. And just very briefly, I'll give you an example of that. Real estate. If and there's a lot of online real estate courses, which I know you would be aware of. But if you're a real estate agent in Adelaide, I mean, we've got a lot of them. We've got thousands of them. But if you want to stand out and you want to be the go-to person whenever there's a story about real estate, and the go-to person in that instance, I mean, if there's a story about real estate that breaks today and you run a real estate agency, then it would be good for me, if I was that real estate agent, it would be good if Channel 10 and Channel 7 rang me and said, hey, Mark, interest rates are about to go up. We're worried about the price of houses. Would you talk about that in an authoritative way? So I guess it's a long, convoluted way of answering your question, but anyone who runs a business, anyone who wants to promote, and anyone who wants to be the face or the authority of their business and be a thought leader, I guess, and do that through the media. And we have a number of them in Adelaide who the media default to when a particular story breaks in a particular area, that we just go to. And if you want to be that person, then that's the sort of client that I can help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Love it, love it. And final question is, so you're in Australia, right?
I am, yeah.
How does it work? There's your services. Are you able to help individuals in different countries as well too?
Yeah, the interesting thing about that question is, Extus, the coronavirus has been a disaster, as we know, but it has made us do our communication in different ways. And this is a great example. I'm not sure how long you've been doing this, but I've watched a lot of these over the last couple of weeks, and they're excellent. But this sort of stuff has been around now for 10 or 11 years. I think more people are using Zoom. So I got an inquiry yesterday, for example, from someone in the UK who wants some media training. Now, obviously, I can't be there. So we've booked a 2-hour meeting where I can, and of course, it's not the same as being there. I understand that, but I can still convey the information they need this way. I mean, you don't have to be there anymore. So being in Australia, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I thought, or maybe even being in Adelaide, I thought, this is not what I want. I want to be able to help people all around Australia and maybe all around the world, but it was always there. Zoom has always been there, this type of platform. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you are. I can instruct and help, and with the use of screen share and all that sort of stuff, email, Zoom, I can help people wherever they are. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah. And because again, with your background with the media, whether it's the media in the US, in Australia, wherever, it's the same philosophy, right? They're all after the same 3 principles you kind of share, right?
It is, yeah. And that's a good observation. Yeah, look, the template's the same. Fundamentally, I mean, there's a couple of countries that, have a restriction on the way the media works, and the governments, are sort of running the media organisation. That doesn't work here in Australia. It doesn't work in most countries. So the principles are the same. Yeah, the template is fundamentally exactly the same, no matter where you are. No
Mm-hmm.
matter where you are. Yeah.
Yeah, love it, love it. Now, if someone wanted to reach out, Mark, what's the best way for them to be able to connect?
Well, I've got a website, which is mediainsider.com.au, but principally I deal with people now on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, Mark Aiston, Aiston, and that has all the information. It has all the contact details. It has my phone number. It has my email. It has what I do, which is interesting because 4 or 5 years ago, we probably would have just given our website out and that would have been about it. But I do most of my appointment making on Facebook and LinkedIn as well, which is also under Mark Aiston. So, yeah.
Awesome, awesome, Mark. And guys, if you're listening and watching this on the live or on the replay, all of Mark's links, they will be either right above or below the video. So definitely, if what he shared with you here today, if you feel like there's a need for you to be in the media, just learn more, definitely you can reach out and connect with them. Well, hey, Mark, thank you so much for making the time to be here today. I really appreciate it. Do you have any final thoughts before we end?
No, not particularly. I mean, I just wanted to thank you for doing this. I think this is a wonderful thing. It's a very giving thing that you're doing, and I think it's giving a lot of people an opportunity not just to promote their business, but also to be better at this, better at communicating. And I guess I'd leave you with the thought. I know sometimes you ask people, you know, what is one of the most important things that they could offer in terms of building a business or being in business. And I've been thinking about that a lot. And I think one of the most important things, and as fundamental as it is, I think is just being organized and also being confident and being confident about what you do and not listening to people say that you can't do it, but listen to yourself saying you can, because there's a lot of naysayers. And so I think being confident and making sure that you give as well. I think the more you give, the more you get back.
Mm-hmm. Love it, Mark. Well, hey, again, thank you so much, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Pleasure. Thanks, Ed. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Awesome, awesome.